Hello and welcome to the Queen Slayer. It's your girl, the Mad Queen. In today's video, I'm going to cover a free-to-play friendly team that you can use on Deesa Caves Stage 15 on auto mode. What I'll go ahead and do is I'll jump over, we'll start the battle, and then I'll talk a little bit while that's going on, and afterwards we will look at all of the data, so how much damage everybody's done, and then we'll go over and I'll show you each hero individually. I'll show you their talents, their exclusives, and the equipment that they have on. Okay, so as we can see, it took almost 2.5 minutes to clear, which isn't terrible. And when we go ahead and take a look at the overall damage at the end, you can see that Sorietta definitely carried this team through. And Sorietta is going to be a really big key component here for taking care of that healing ad that spawns to heal the boss. But we have Sorietta doing 34 million damage. Then we have Falvia here, who is doing 25 million damage. Taylor doing 26.5 million, and Bot Mark 2 doing 13.4 million. And as you can see here, we have Serena, who healed by 16.6 million, which is insane. And it's a little sad to see that my commander here actually did a bit more damage than my Bot Mark 2, but that's all right because it worked, and this team is 100%. So let's go ahead and I'll put my camera back on, and we'll jump over and go through each of these heroes individually. Okay, so everybody that I used on this team, you do want to keep in mind, they were all immortal. And honestly, it's going to be really hard for you to do stage 15 period without immortal heroes, unless you just have super insane gear. But you really shouldn't have super insane gear unless you're already beating stage 15, right? So let's go ahead and look at Sorietta, who did the most damage. You can see here that Sorietta has an overall of 50,000 attack. And we'll go ahead and look at his talents. All of the talents are totally done. And just so I don't have to explain this every time we look at all of the heroes, whenever I am doing my talents for all of my damage dealers, I don't do it at first. I always prioritize all of their abilities and an attack and anything that's going to help them do more damage. And then after that, I will come back and then I will put all of the extra points that I have into their health and defense. So I always do that, especially with the ones that I'm using all the time. The reason is because these guys are pretty squishy. And of course, we don't want to put equipment on them that's going to help their health and their defense, right? Because we want to get attack out of them. So this is going to majorly help keep them alive so that they can do more damage. And as we look at the exclusives, we are in the mythic stage on forging our exclusives here. And when we look at the equipment, you can see I have a Sun Singed set, which gives an additional 15% crit rate, and 2 hero sets, which each give an additional 15% attack. So when I was focusing on building stats, I tried to do as much attack as possible and try to get as much crit rate as I could. Of course, I know it looks like I do have top tier gear, but the substats are not the best, unfortunately. So that's why you don't see that I have 100% crit rate, because that's obviously something I would like to reach for. So whenever I was focusing on this bottom row, we put attack percent on the gloves, the helmet, and the boots. Next up, we have Serena. Serena is really the one that is able to make this all happen. And it's because I've gotten to the point where she is tanky enough that she can actually be the tank at the front. So she's taking all that damage and she's able to heal her team because if you just have a tank up front without any heals, your team is most likely going to die. And that's honestly, unless you're able to just pump out an insane amount of damage very quickly, because the boss does area damage to everyone as well. So you need somebody that can heal the whole team. But as we look here, she has currently 1.2 million health. Her talents are totally maxed out. Besides her attack, it's not the same with my tanky support heroes. I don't go into their attack like how I do with my damage heroes, where I'll go into making them a bit tankier. So I don't do that here. As far as exclusives, I am on her mythic exclusives as well. And whenever we take a look at the gear, I have a vigorous set and an abundant set. So the vigorous set is going to give an additional 15% max health overall to Serena. And the abundant set is going to increase her healing by an additional 35% overall. So her healing in general is all based off of how high her health is. So that's why these two sets are very, very, very important for her. And honestly, if you don't have a very good abundant set, or a half decent one at least compared with a good vigorous set, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for you to be able to complete this on auto. That is, keep in mind, whenever you're not doing this on auto, it is a little bit easier because you can control who's attacking what, and you can kill that healing ad faster. So that's something else. Next is Falvia. So Falvia is actually somebody I sat on for a while. I wasn't really trying to level her up or advance her at all, and that was a mistake. She's incredible, and I use her in a lot of places now. But let's go ahead and take a look at her info. As you can see, her attack is a little over 32,000, almost 33. And when we look at her talents, all of her talents are totally completed here. I've done all of them. When we go to her exclusives, she's also on Mythic. And when we take a look at her equipment, she's in a hero set and a Sun Singed set. So we're going to get increased crit rate and increased attack. So you're going to see the most crit rate percent on Falvia out of anybody. And the reason for this is because Falvia is actually able to do more shots and hit harder if she can hit critically. You will need 100% on this. That's something you're going to have to build up to, of course, because I can't even get that yet. But make sure that whenever you're building her out down here, I put crit rate on her gauntlets, and then we went attack percent on her helmet and her boots. If you can get enough substats that you can reach 100% crit rate or as high as you can without using crit rate gloves, that is going to be your best option, but I do not have that right now. Next, we have Bot Mark II. For Bot Mark II, I have all of Bot Mark's talents done as well. For exclusives, I am not quite as high, which is another reason why you're going to see that it didn't do as much damage as some of the other heroes. And its equipment is also not as great as some of the other heroes as well. And that's because I don't typically use Bot Mark II anymore in my team, and because this is more of a free-to-play friendly team. And I do have a guide coming out very soon where I'm going to be showcasing my auto team where it's not quite so free-to-play friendly. So if you're interested in seeing that, you should definitely check that out. It'll be coming out very shortly after this. But if we look at his info, he has almost 35,000 attack. And for the equipment, you can actually see I have a random defense piece on him. So the steady set gives increased defense. The only reason I use this is because it's a maxed out attack percent helmet, and these can be pretty hard to come by. So whenever I'm looking at boots and helmets, even if they aren't in the sets that I want, if they are top tier and they are attack percent, I keep them and I level them because they are so hard to come by. And then eventually I'll filter them out as I get better gear. But as you can see, I have an overload set and a sun singent set. I could not make a hero set, which gives us increased attack, which is why I just went with crit damage as well. And you can see here what the crit rate and crit damage is. And the same is going to be really for all these when you're building the stats. You want to focus on attack. Honestly, attack first, then crit rate and crit damage. Crit damage is going to be the last one you want to focus on. And that's while you're in the process of building up to your stage 15 team, and when you're at the point where you're just getting to clearing it 100% all the time consistently. The next up on the team is Taylor. Taylor is awesome. I love, love, love Taylor. And I use Taylor in a ton of places. So let's take a look at the info first. So for Taylor's attack, we have over 33,000 attack right now. And when you look at the talents, it's the same. They're all maxed. And whenever we look at exclusives, we are in the mythic stage of forging exclusives as well. And now let's go ahead and take a look at his sets. I have him in a hero set, an overload set, and a sun singent set. So this is just going to give him some increased attack, some increased crit rate, and some increased crit damage. Like I said before, crit damage isn't necessarily what's the most important thing to focus on first, but I'm assuming that how I have things pieced is probably by the limited amount of pretty decently gear I do actually have on my account right now. So let's go ahead and take a look. If we see his crit rate is 58% and crit damage is 36 currently. I also really quickly want to add another option is going to be Omar here. Omar can also be used in stage 15 of Deesa, and it works just about the same. It actually might be just a little bit faster, but again, that's all going to be depending on how leveled up they are, their talents, where those are at, their exclusives, your gear, all of that good stuff. So that is going to be, Omar is going to be a really good option if you don't have one of these other guys that I did mention. Oh, and also, if we're looking at healers, another thing that you can look at doing, if you're having trouble staying alive with one healer / tank and 4 damage dealers, put your Serena in the front, use 3 attack heroes, and then use your Lyran as well. Or you can also use, what's his name? Maserati, because he's the other healer in the game. But Lyran is going to be your free-to-play option there. Put Lyran in the back, and then you're going to have 2 healers, and you're going to have 3 damage dealers. This team is going to take, obviously, much longer to complete, but this way does work, and it's a great thing, and it's a great team to use until you're able to get enough damage out of your other heroes. I really hope that you found this video helpful, that you enjoyed it, that you got something out of it. Listen, if you're a new player looking for advice or an experienced player willing to give advice, join my growing Discord community. I'll leave the link for that in the description. It's a great way to become part of a community and to learn from each other and help each other out. Thanks for watching. Once again, it's the Mad Queen, and I'll catch you in the next video.